To save the trouble, I have the link to the download page for OBS in the description. Do know that I am using Windows for this, but the setup should be relatively the same with other operating systems like Linux and Mac OS. I am trying to switch to Linux as well, but my workflow won't change all that much besides the operating system and hardware, so there's nothing to worry about. You may have noticed the list below the OBS download link. That's all my options for the software settings. Keep in mind that there's a really good chance that both of our hardware specifications are completely different. For example, I'm using this video encoder for my recordings. I'm using an NVIDIA graphics card. If you have something like an AMD graphics card, I suggest you just use the GPU video encoder that AMD provides. What I find strange is that some AMD graphics cards don't have AV1 encoding. Not that it matters, since I use the MPEG-4 format for all of my recordings. MPEG-4 is much smaller than most lossless video formats, and my editing software natively supports the MPEG-4 format anyways. I have used the Matroska file format to get higher quality footage because of its lossless data compression and whatnot, but it's going to take up a lot of space, especially for audio tracks, which, speaking of audio tracks, I have my audio tracks separated from each other to make it easier on me when I'm editing. I also have a download link to the third-party source plugin I use to capture audio from specific applications I assign the sources to. If you do use this plugin, please be sure to always check what application that source plugin is assigned to before hitting start recording. I can't tell you how many times I've neglected to check the audio capture sources for Discord or a game I'm wanting to record. All of a sudden, I play back the recording and it's just mute for the specific audio tracks that I was supposed to assign audio to. That I actually separate the audio sources into separate tracks, I just open the advanced audio properties to the audio mixer window and set all the available audio source / devices to their own tracks. OBS does have a limit to how many audio tracks you can have in one recording, that being 6 audio tracks. You can change which tracks you want for the recording through the settings and by going into the recording tab in the output settings. Another thing to make editing a lot easier for me, especially for the audio tracks, is to have them organized with volume editing and prioritization in mind. Funny enough, I learned this from a TF2 YouTuber who does sound mixing and editing for a living. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Maybe. Anyways, you basically just have your microphone assigned to the first track, your Discord, Steam, Skype, TeamSpeak, whatever communications client you use to call your friends or whatever. That application's audio source is assigned to the second track. Now your game audio will be assigned to the third track. Whatever else you want to be assigned to like the 4th, 5th, and 6th track, that's all up to you. Do be careful with this, however, as having feature-length recordings with all 6 tracks being used is going to take a huge toll on your storage capacity. That's where the replay buffer comes in. Basically, it serves as a passive approach to capturing footage. It does use quite a bit of RAM though, so in order to avoid having any massive slowdowns with the replay buffer, I get the maximum replay time 240 seconds, which is about 4 minutes. OBS will also measure an estimated amount of memory that will be used while the replay buffer is active. If your device has only 8 gigs of memory, however, I suggest having the maximum replay time around 120 seconds. Another thing I have to mention, I have a hotkey assigned to saving replays whilst the replay buffer is active. It's the F9 key if you're curious. Downloading, setting up, and recording with OBS is the easiest part of my process for producing content on YouTube. The only struggles that I've really faced for the past half decade is storage capacity bloat and neglecting to double check audio tracks. A real challenge would have to be the editing stage of the process. You'll know what I mean. Just refresh your noggin a little, download OBS, set it up to suit your device's specifications, get yourself any useful plugins, first party and or third party, organize your sources to your comfort, and record away. Thanks for tuning in and listening to me geek out for a little bit. I'll be seeing you. That was so fucking gay.